What's good, everybody? It's your boy, O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again with another episode of The Celebrity Junk. Barack Obama is under somewhat of a scandal, okay? And his ex-girlfriend, Alex McNear, dated him while they were both attending Occidental College. Now, Barack Obama, who only dated white women before Michelle Obama, admitted some interesting things in this letter, which is now owned by Emory University. And that letter says, okay, my mind is androgynous to a great extent, and I hope to make it more so until I can think in terms of people, not women as opposed to men. But in returning to the body, I see that I have been made a man and physically in life. I choose to accept that contingency. And that is very interesting because he goes on to say, I make love to men daily, but in the imagination. Okay, so he's been thinking about it, which, I guess technically, what somebody would say is, so as a man think, so is he. But I want to get into this word androgynous. What does that mean? He believes he is partly male and partly female in appearance, indeterminate of sex. Now, what you're seeing right now with the trans community, all of this is like 40 years ago. He's pretty much predicting some of these things, okay? Now, let me do this. I want to go back to the former president, Barack Obama. I want to go back to his views on homosexuality or gay marriage during his first campaign run in 2008. I want to play that clip and come back.
I believe that marriage is the union between a man and a woman. Now, for me as a Christian, it's also a sacred union. God's in the mix.
Would you support a constitutional amendment with that definition?
No, I would not.
Why not?
And because historically, we have not defined marriage in our Constitution. It's been a matter of state law. That has been our tradition. Now, let's break it down. The reason that people think there needs to be a constitutional amendment, some people believe, is because of the concern that about same-sex marriage. I am not somebody who promotes same-sex marriage, but I do believe in civil unions. I do believe that we should not, that for gay partners to want to visit each other in a hospital, for the state to say, you know what, that's all right. I don't think in any way inhibits my core beliefs about what marriage are. I think my faith is strong enough and my marriage is strong enough that I can afford those civil rights to others, even if I have a different perspective or a different...
Then I want to let you see how he changed his opinion on this in 2016 once the Supreme Court decided that gay marriage would be sufficient. Let's play that clip.
There's so much more work to be done to extend the full promise of America to every American. But today we can say, in no uncertain terms, that we've made our union a little more perfect. That's the consequence of a decision from the Supreme Court, but more importantly, it is a consequence of the countless small acts of courage of millions of people across decades who stood up, who came out, who talked to parents who loved their children no matter what. folks who were willing to endure bullying and taunts and stayed strong and came to believe in themselves and who they were. And slowly made an entire country realize that love is love. What an extraordinary achievement. What a vindication of the belief that ordinary people can do extraordinary things.
And then this clip is going to be important, okay? Because not only was Barack Obama trying to express the LGBTQ agenda in America, he was spreading this to countries that he visited, primarily countries that were third world at the time. Now, I want you to hear what Kenyans had to say, at least Kenyan pastors, on his attempt to spread the LGBTQ in Africa.
We do not want him to come and talk on homosexuality in Kenya or push us to accepting that, which is against our faith and our culture.
Mark Kariuki is the key architect of that letter. He leads an alliance representing 38,000 churches and 10 million Kenyan Christians. He welcomes the president's visit, but says leave the gay talk in America.
Let him talk about development. Let him talk about cooperation. Let him talk about the long-time relationship Kenya has had with America, but about our beliefs and culture, keep off.
Obama has used previous trips to Africa to urge governments to respect gay rights. Kariuki says the open letter is a warning to the president.
Now, let me talk about this because I have been alerted to something called the Gay Manifesto. Okay? And I've read it, and it was pretty much a plan that this particular unknown person who was gay, or the Homosexual Manifesto, it was supposedly written by somebody of Boston, but it was this plan to talk about how men would become feminized, how they would become raped by other men, things like that. It was a gay liberation thing, and it pretty much predicted what's going on right now. And so when I think about Barack Obama, and I'm not really into conspiracy theories, but here's a guy who is half black, half white, right? He never dates a black woman until Michelle Obama. It's a calculated move. He appeals primarily to the African American community and the youth based on that union, right? Then coming back center during the election and appealing to middle America in 2008. Then with the new strategy in 2012, he goes back on his word to stop gay marriage. And it's always been clear he believed in civil unions, but now he's taken a step further to win this election with a newer audience that he had probably lost in the past. And what I would want to say is this: I don't have a problem with his thoughts. I mean, I don't know what he's thinking now, and it doesn't really matter what he's thinking now because it's not going to hurt his opinion or his legacy. But even Barack Obama was being crowned the first gay president at that particular time. And now what we're trying to see is that I don't think it's by chance that all of this happened in the way that it did. That's just my honest opinion about this. And of course, me living in Africa, I see, especially when I was in Kenya, I just came back, the amount of gays that you're seeing now on the continent of Africa, it's not by chance. I'm not saying that they've never always been there, but to, and you're seeing like these testosterone reports coming out saying that men have less testosterone than in the past. And if you look at, Barack Obama 40 years ago, he looks like, this is not the most masculine man in the world, is it? I mean, just look at him, right? He could be classified by some as being androgynous, as he clearly said. And I want brothers to understand, this is where we're at now. All this stuff with the just hilarious thing, the transgender thing, all of this can be traced back to around this time that he wrote this letter and before. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, okay? I'm not. But man, this thing here, I think that, hey, there's a lot to be said about this. Okay? And they tricked a lot of blacks to accepting this. And this Democratic Party is still carrying out the destruction of so many things in America. I'll leave the LGBTQ thing alone. I don't even think that's the biggest one. That's destruction of the black family, black men incarcerated, all these other things. And just to believe that we've picked our poison on this stuff, when they have, in my honest opinion, in a very astute and intelligent way, methodically moved their way into positions to do what they have done. The insane genius of it all is more than incredible. And that's why if the black community don't think for themselves, somebody gonna think for you. You have very smart people trying to figure this stuff out. And they don't sleep. So if black people don't get it together, people coming to us with in 2008 as a wolf in sheep's clothing, look at where we are now. Look at where we are now. We are substantially in a worse place than we were in 2008. Think about that as a community. We are awful. So guys, when you think it's your boy O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again with another episode of The Celebrity Junk. Appreciate you for all you do. Celebrity Bell. We're out.